everyone, and welcome to Fox 9 Sports Now. And it's great. Football is back, and we are honored to have former Viking, now audio analyst for your Minnesota Vikings, Peter Bercich, back to break it all down. And boy, there's stuff going on already, Pete.
Yeah, you're about three practices into it, I believe. They put the pads on finally tomorrow. So there's a lot going on, a lot to be decided, and it's starting tomorrow. There's no more weekends without football.
No, football starts Thursday night.
Yeah.
All right, so you were out there. The quarterback competition is breathlessly being reported on every day, including by us here at Fox 9. We have to admit it, too. You've been out at camp watching. How have you seen just the competition part play out? Not just the I want to know more about the structure of how it's being handled, not how the two are going through it at this point. We'll get to that in a second, but how have you seen the way O'Connell has laid it out, and what have you garnered from what you saw?
I mean, from what we've seen so far, it's been pretty even, so to speak, with time with the ones, because it does matter if you're a quarterback and you're getting a chance to get out there and have reps, and you're then on the number one defense or offense going against the number two defense, you should have success. Right. If you're on the number two offense versus the number one defense, well, then it's going to be a little bit tougher of a road to hoe. But I think that they've split things up evenly. What I want people to understand, or at least what people have to keep in mind, is that every single day that these guys walk out on the field, they have new plays. They have new things installed. Right. If you were there Saturday, you saw a lot of screens out of the offense. That's because on Friday night and Saturday they installed all the screens. Right. So you feature them that day in practice. So as this offense gets installed, you're going to see fits and spurts of this guy doing better than this guy. And it could be a factor of that. It could be a factor of who's with the ones and who's with the twos and what defensive group you're going against. So it's, regardless of how the numbers look, it's pretty tough to really balance this thing super fairly. Right? You just have to kind of let it roll. It's going to be hard to judge. One thing I do know from watching practice, though, is that Kyler Murray is an unbelievable athlete. You know, I've seen him in games. We've played against him, but to see him on the hoof that close, the way he can move around in the pocket and the things that he does, you have to remember, he's the first human being to be drafted in the first round of both the NFL draft and Major League Baseball. Right, 9th overall by the Oakland Athletics, and then the next year in March and April, he's drafted number 1 overall by the Arizona Cardinals. So the guy's an incredible athlete.
All right, now when he's not hyping up the crowd at SummerSlam, Justin Jefferson, he's been on the field every day with these two, and he was asked how he's seen things playing out. I'll let you listen to his answer, get your reaction, but he said it's kind of difficult, but maybe not, to get his work done.
Right now, we just don't know who's the number one guy. So it's just all about having communication and connection with both of the guys until further notice. So coming out here and just getting work with both of them, talking to both of them, making sure, we all understand and being on that same page. So, it's a lot of connection, talking, and just building on that.
It seems like it's kind of tough for the other players to talk about the quarterbacks because nobody wants to tip their hand of who they want to see. And I think they've been told to try to keep your answers as neutral as possible.
Yeah, and I think if there's a guy who could have complained about the quarterback situation last year, it would have been Justin Jefferson. And I'd love to hear someone ask him if he's concerned about his Madden ratings, right? He wouldn't say he would be, but it's like, hold on now. You have all that money lined up at wide receiver, right? And you need to take advantage of that. So you got to figure out who's going to be throwing him the football. Yes, it is a bit of a challenge, but you know what? What if you're Kyler Murray? What if you're J.J. McCarthy, right? You talk about a challenge. I'm fighting for my job every single day that you go out there, which is what training camp should be about. But that you're fighting every single snap, every walk-through play, every meeting, you're fighting for your job. So as this battle goes on, somebody else on the outside is getting frustrated, it's like, well, we've got this over here we got to take care of, and you have 2 weeks before the first game of the season to settle in and figure out how's he going to throw the back shoulder, and all those little things that a quarterback and a receiver can figure out. But they will. I'm sure they will.
All right, so let's start with Kyler. He was wishing for more snaps during OTAs and minicamp, but so far he hasn't brought that up to this point. What have you seen? You noticed right away the athletic ability you saw in him, but what does he have to do to win over his teammates?
I think for him, the fact that he's really been there before. I mean, J.J. McCarthy started 10 games, so he's played and he started. But Kyler Murray's been around for a long time, and he knows this league. And his familiarity with other teams and the defenses and the players and his knowledge of the game and what he's been through, I think in those key situations where he can step up and not play hero ball, don't get me wrong, but lead a team on a drive late. When it comes to the 2-minute situations that they're going to be practicing and getting into, he's got that whole thing down, knows exactly how to run it and how he wants to do it. And the composure on that part of his game, that's what you want. That's what you want to see on him, because that's really all you want. Is you want to have confidence in the guy throwing you the football. You want to have confidence in the guy that you're pass blocking for, and I think he just needs to let everybody know and prove to everybody, because he's already proven himself in the NFL, but he's got to prove to this group that he's the real deal.
All right, and you have J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Now, he's already been through 2 training camps. This is his 3rd, so he knows everything that's going on for the most part. But what does he have to do differently now that he's no longer the clear-cut number 1?
I think he's going to have to compete. I think he's going to have to grow up just in how he conducts himself. Act like you've been there before, right? No more point at the arm, no more number 9 and flipping the switch and all that. That's all, and we as players all did that to some extent, right? You don't always have to talk about it. I think he has to show his level of maturity and how much he's grown as a leader and as a quarterback, but also in this offense, and knowing this offense better than Kyler Murray could ever know this offense, because he's been around for 2 seasons through it. So if he keeps that step ahead every day, when I talk about the install in the morning and then practice in the afternoon, and for Kyler, this is all new maybe. And so for JJ, he's like, okay, I remember that. We did this, we did that. Oh, hey, remember then this? We had that check and last game and that rapport that you can have between quarterback and receiver or whomever else, that matters a ton. And I think that is what the players will see in him, as opposed to Kyler Murray. You see what I mean? Kyler Murray's the experienced quarterback, but JJ has been through this system. He knows how this works.
So he's got to leverage that.
And if he can prove that and leverage that, then I think the players would be like, okay, well, Kyler, you have more experience, but this guy's been here in this system longer, knows the ins and outs.
All right, other side of the ball, this story hasn't gotten all the headlines, but it may be just as important. Harrison Smith still hasn't made public his intentions for the upcoming season. One, do you think he returns?
Are we going to be asking him that in December?
Maybe. Well, this is, okay, here's question 2. You have hit question 2. When does he have to make up his mind? Can he wait till December and come riding in on a silver horse and lead this team to a playoff berth?
It depends on, it depends on the physical condition that he's in now. According to Coach O'Connell, he, and Harrison, they talk all the time, or they talk quite often. So I'm sure they've spoken and have had this conversation. Harrison Smith missed all of training camp last year, if you remember, and it wasn't until the second half of the season, toward the end of the season, that he played a lot more. That's when Flores turned over a lot more of the checks and over to him to let him kind of quarterback the defense a little bit more. And that's what I love about Brian Flores and his scheme, is he's so versatile and can do so many different things. And when he has a Harrison Smith back there who he can trust and he can direct traffic, he can check a blitz from this side to this side and do what Harrison Smith does. So I don't think that decision is imminent. Let's see how the preseason goes. Let's see if everybody stays healthy when Baltimore comes to town. And if for some reason you lose a guy or 2, then I think it's more likely that he's going to come back sooner.
Okay. If he does not return, who becomes the leader of that defense?
Well, I think it's going to be somewhere between a Blake Cashman and a Josh Metellus, right? Because those guys have been around the longest amount of time. I think Josh Metellus, he's a safety, but he's not doesn't play the deep middle of the field as much. He's more of a kind of an in-the-box hybrid, jack of all trades, like almost all these guys are. But I think that leadership role is going to fall squarely on the shoulders of 44. Now you lost a leader in Grenard too up front,
yes.
So it's going to be interesting to see if Dallas Turner and Van Ginkel and those guys can pick up the slack there. And yes, as far as going to practice and seeing this team, we have gotten bigger on defense. A lot bigger on defense. That defensive front is much bigger now with Caleb Banks and Dominique Orange.
All right. This weekend, the Vikings did a wonderful and heartfelt remembrance of a guy you knew so well, Corey Stringer. He was one of the most lovable characters I've ever seen around that team, and you guys knew him much better. Unfortunately, he passed on the practice field 25 years ago, and it really affected everyone at the organization. It was really cool to see the Vikings do what they did.
Yeah, it was, and it was great to see Kelsey Stringer and to see what she's done with the Corey Stringer Institute and how they've taken the heat exhaustion awareness to the high school levels, to all trainers at every level, college. I mean, and let them know about the signs, what to do if you see it, hydration, all those things, so this doesn't happen again. I mean, Corey Stringer was the first NFL player to have that happen to. And you remember how it used to be back in the day when it was 2-3 a days and you didn't drink water in between and there were no indoor facilities.
Non-stop on that hill in Mankato.
And so it was just an amazing afternoon, and Kelsey is just she's one of the most special people you'll ever meet. And they've taken what is ultimately, just an unbelievable tragedy and turned it into a lot of good.
No doubt. Pete, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you for another season. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Practice Monday night?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Sunday night.
Sunday night we'll have
on Fox 9.
It'll be on Fox 9.
Right.
We'll be live. You, Paul Allen, Ben Lieber. We'll have the practice, and Sports Now will also be live from training camp as well. That's next Sunday. But straight ahead here.